Hello, and welcome to Maplewood Town Hall. My name is Frank McGehee, and I'm the mayor of the Township of Maplewood. Today, I'm honored to be joined by Chris Durkin, Essex County Clerk. Chris, how are you?
I'm doing great, Mayor. Thank you for the invitation.
Thanks for being here with us today. As you know, on November 3rd is a very important date. We have our general election, and unlike any other year, this is a very unique election day for us. And there are a lot of questions that are floating around our community. And I'm very honored to have Mr. Durkin with us, who will provide us with an overview of how the election will be conducted this year, and also answer a few questions that we have for him. So Chris, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I appreciate the invitation to talk about this vitally important public service and voting. Voting is our greatest right. It is the great equalizer. One person, one vote, and when everyone votes, like I like to say, it is the greatest sound of music, and we need to make sure that everyone has the correct information and that everyone participates in our democracy. Governor Murphy issued an executive order, and the New Jersey legislature followed that up by passing a law as to the manner of this election. And this election will be primarily conducted by vote by mail. So every registered voter will receive a vote by mail ballot by October 5th. And the four words I like to say: when you receive your ballot, you vote, sign, seal, and return. Right? So those are the simple four words to perform when you receive your ballot. There will be polling places on election day, limited amount of polling places. Every registered voter will receive a postcard 10 days before election day telling them of their polling location, telling them that they can view a sample ballot on the website of EssexClerk.com, and it will tell them why the election is conducted primarily by mail due to COVID and the pandemic. Voters can go to their polling place if they hadn't voted by mail already, and they can vote on a provisional paper ballot. And that ballot will count. Every vote in New Jersey counts, unlike some other states, where if the race is not close enough, it doesn't count. But in New Jersey, the law is that every vote counts. There'll also be accommodations for disabled voters who can utilize the audio component of the voting machine in order to vote. So there'll be drop boxes too for the convenience of voting by mail. And that's what's also important. There are 5 ways to return your ballot. You can mail your ballot back. There's prepaid postage attached to the ballot. You can go to a secure mail ballot drop box. There's 2 secure mail ballot drop boxes, one in Maplewood, one in South Orange. There's 24 throughout Essex County. There's one on Springfield Avenue in Maplewood, right in front of the police and court building, and there's one at the firehouse in South Orange on Sloan Street at the gazebo. Also, you can bring your ballot back in person to the Board of Elections, or you can have a bearer or carrier bring your ballot for you to the Board of Elections. And the 5th option is you can bring your ballot back to your polling place on election day and hand your ballot to a board worker. You don't need to sign a poll book, you don't need ID, you can only bring your ballot back. You can't bring anyone else's ballot back to your polling place to be counted.
So Chris, thank you. That's really a lot of informative information from the standpoint of so many ways to make sure that your vote's counted. I think it's great to hear that the postcard will come out 10 days beforehand. And when you receive that postcard, if you want to use one of those 5 ways, which is taking it to your polling place, you can read that information and go right to that polling place. Yes. And I do know in Maplewood that our box is being installed almost as we speak, and will be available to receive your mailing ballot on September 29th. Now, Chris, when are the ballots going to be mailed out to Essex County residents?
Yes, we are mailing ballots on September 28th. So you can expect your ballot hopefully by October 1st. If you haven't received your ballot by October 5th, you should be concerned, and you should contact the county clerk's office at 973-621-4922 or at EssexClerk.com. You can go onto our website and email us from our website.
That's great. There's been some questions about having identification or ID. Is there any situation, if at all, where a resident, a potential voter would need to provide some ID? Say they went to the polling place to do a provisional. Is there any scenario where an ID would be necessary?
No, there's no ID needed. When you go to the polling place, you can vote provisional. You don't even need to sign the poll book because that provisional ballot will go back to the county election offices and be verified. It'll be scrutinized to make sure that that person did not, in fact, vote by mail already, and to make sure they are a qualified voter. And the signature will be compared, and then that ballot will be counted.
That's good to hear. Good. I think there's a lot of misinformation out there, and to hear that from you is really appreciated and very valuable information.
The only voters that will have to sign the poll book will be a disabled voter, because when they're signing, they are in fact saying that they are disabled. So they're swearing that they're disabled in order to use the audio component, but they don't have to show ID, just sign the poll book.
Got you. So one thing I think our residents would also be interested in knowing, because we have a lot of people interested in this, election in November. Can I still register to vote, and how long can I register to vote until?
Great question. 26 days to go. October 13th. October 13th is the registration deadline, and that's not just for new voter registrations. That's for change of address, right? Change of name, any change of updating your signature, which is very important. If your signature has changed over the years, you might want to update your signature by October 13th. There's also online voter registration, which was just introduced on September 4th. That's at the New Jersey Division of Elections website, where you can register online using your driver's license number or your social security number to register online. And that'll also update your signature on there.
Oh, that's great to hear. And let me take a second to remind everyone who's watching that vote, sign, seal, and return. Those are the 4 key words that we heard Chris mention earlier in our conversation. So one question I have, when you receive the postcard and it communicates to polling place, your assigned polling place, does that mean that you have to go to that location only in terms of, or can you go to, in Maplewood there's going to be 4 locations. Let's say I'm assigned to the Hart. Do I have to go to the Hart, or can I also go to the Woodland, for example?
Great question. Every voter will receive a postcard, and it will only have one polling place on the postcard for that voter. But technically, since the voter does not have to sign the poll book, and since the voter is voting on a provisional paper ballot, or they're voting on the audio component, and in Maplewood there is only one ballot, they technically could go to any of the polling places and vote because there is only one ballot. In some other municipalities, there are ward council races where you're going to need to go to your ward, specific ward, in order to get your vote counted. But Maplewood has only one ballot, so technically you would be able to go to any of the polling places to vote.
Thank you, Chris.
And to return your vote by mail ballot.
Okay, that's good to know. And, obviously, we talked about at the beginning of our conversation that this is a very unique year, taking into consideration the pandemic that is, we're all addressing. And even you and I, as we're talking here, we're at least 6 feet apart, and you may or may not see there's a partition here in front of us. That being said, what precautions is the county taking for those who are going to be at the precincts in regards to COVID?
Okay, so yes, there are mandates from the Attorney General's office where there is strict cleaning procedures after every voter. So each voter will come in and they'll have a partition to vote at a table, privacy screen. After they vote, the surfaces, the partition, any of the surfaces in the polling place will be cleaned after every single voter. So there'll be plenty of board workers in order to conduct the cleaning of the polling place. There will be masks and gloves provided for voters if they do not come in with one. The board workers are mandated to have masks, to preferably have gloves, but the voter, by law, doesn't have to wear a mask. It is preferred, and there will be masks available, and it will be offered. to the voter, and we're hoping that they take that up, but it's not, they're not bound by law to have a mask.
Understood. And we do really truly hope that all of our residents throughout Maplewood and South Orange will abide by, you know, keeping each other safe by wearing your mask. We're in this together. So hopefully they will do exactly that. Chris, I know I've asked you several questions. Let me give you the opportunity. There may be some things that right now that you're thinking about that you would like to communicate out to the community regarding the election in November.
Okay, so what I would say is that I spoke earlier about a postcard. We talked about the postcard that voters are going to receive for their polling place. There's also a postcard from the United States Postal Service that every voter received across the country. And there is some miscommunication. There is some issues with that postcard because that postcard was a generic national postcard. It was not directed state by state. So it talked about vote by mail. It talked about absentee voting. It talked about applying for a ballot, which you don't have to do in New Jersey. So it was an attempt to push forward goodwill, but it was confusing. So it's important to clear that up. And I always talk about, I'm not so concerned with hacking of elections as I am concerned with misinformation. So I think the benefit of New Jersey and of America as far as managing the elections is managed on a county by county basis. There's more than 3,000 counties throughout America, and each county is independent of each other and, you know, have different processes, different designs of the ballot, different programming. Each machine is programmed independently. There is no national network of voter registrations. There's no national network of voting machines. So it's very difficult to hack our process. And what you've seen is how people are trying to disrupt it, whether it be foreign bad actors or domestic bad actors, is through misinformation. And we, as elected officials, we as citizens, must combat that misinformation with facts every chance we get. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. That's a very important point. And once you receive your ballot, as you mentioned, it's going to be mailed on September 28th. That's a Monday. And it'll be coming, you know, you'll receive it in the days to come. How soon can you vote? Can you, if you get that ballot on September 30th, can you vote right away?
Yes, and we encourage that. We encourage everyone to vote as soon as they get their ballot. Read the instructions, cast your vote, and either deliver your ballot back because it's prepaid postage and there'll be enough time at that point to return in the Postal Service. But we prefer the secure ballot drop boxes because those secure ballot drop boxes are 24-hour video surveillance. They're on municipal and county property. They are picked up on a daily basis. Every night at 8 o'clock, each secure ballot drop box will be emptied of the ballots and brought back to the county and scanned in as delivered. So you can track your ballot in a more timely fashion than choosing the Postal Service because there's lag time with the Postal Service. With the secure ballot drop box, your ballot is going to be returned that night. And you can then see it at EssexClerk.com or the New Jersey Division of Elections website. You can go on, put your name, your address, and then you will see whether or not your ballot was returned and the date it was returned to the county.
Well, that's impressive. Great to have that technology.
Yes, it is.
And so as we talk about knowing we're heading up to November 3rd, are there any type of deadlines or finite periods that we should be make the public aware of? So for example, is there a certain time in the evening when you're going to stop collecting ballots on the day of the election? Is there any type of geographical challenges we should be aware of when a resident mails in their ballot?
Right, so the secure ballot drop boxes will be open, like you said, on September 29th.
Yes.
For ballots to be dropped in. They will be locked on November 3rd, Election Day at 8 p.m. because 8 p.m. is the last of the ballots that can be submitted. And at 8 p.m., each secure ballot drop box, all 24, will be locked so that no ballots can be put in and no more votes can be cast. It's important to know that vote by mail ballots through the Postal Service can still come in to the county up to 7 days after Election Day as long as those ballots were postmarked Election Day or prior, and they will be counted. for 7 days after Election Day.
So to be clear on that, if I mail my ballot at my local post office and not in the ballot post box, then as long as it's postmarked on November 3rd or has a November 3rd postmark, then it has up to 7 days to reach your office and your team.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And then after 7 days of counting all the vote by mail ballots, the 8th day is when the provisional ballots begin the process of verifying and counting the provisional ballots. The county clerk's office has until November 23rd to certify election results. I would say with this new way of voting, with vote by mail and all paper voting, campaigns and elections start earlier and they take longer to count because it's all paper. They all need to be verified. And so I know there's going to be a lot of people who want immediate answers on election night. Me too. I want to know right away. But hopefully there's a comfortable margin, and election night we will know.
That's good to know. And November, that's also why it's so important that as soon as you get your ballot, to get it in right away. As you talked about previously, to vote and to return, to sign, seal, and return. I think that's critical.
That's right.
So if you have two people in a household that are eligible to vote and they get their vote by mail ballot, say beginning of October, is it possible for one of the individuals in the household to carry both ballots to the post office? What is the process, if at all?
Great question. You can only be the bearer of another voter's ballot, up to 3 voters. So your ballot plus 3 voters, you can bear or carry that ballot to the post office, to the secure mailbox, or to the Board of Elections in person to hand that ballot in. But you must sign the outside of that voter's ballot that you are in fact the bearer or carrier of that ballot. And you can only, the limit is 3. So make sure you don't break the limit, because then that next ballot won't count. So it's important to stay with the 3, the limit.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. So let me give you another opportunity, because I think as we're asking questions, I know you're so close to this. We really appreciate your time today. Are there any key points additional key points that you would want to communicate to our residents regarding heading into November 3rd?
Well, I would just say it's all about communication. It's all about talking to your neighbors. So it's not just about you voting, which is very important, but it's about getting your neighbors to vote, getting your community to vote. Education, 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 right? So action is important, but what's more important is factual action. And making sure everyone knows the rules. And also, very important, there's a new law that allows voters to cure their ballot if it was denied based on a signature comparison. So before the primary, ballots were denied based on signature comparison, and you had no recourse to get your ballot counted. Now, with the new law, with the governor and with the legislature, you now have the ability, if your ballot is denied, and it's strengthened from the primary to the general, because it's if your signature did not compare to your registered signature, so your ballot signature to your registered signature, or if you did not include your signature. So you might have forgot to sign the certificate envelope, or did not include your certificate with your ballot, you will receive a cure letter, and it must be mailed within 24 hours of the denial. And every voter who is denied based on a signature or no signature has until November 21st to cure their ballot. So just as an example, in the primary, there were 1,200 voters denied based on a signature comparison. 521 cured their ballots and had their ballots counted. So that's very encouraging, but we want every ballot to be counted, every ballot to be cured, because we know signatures change over the years. My signature changed, over 30 years, right? I don't want to say, but they do change. And so we need to update the signature, and we need to respond to the cure letter if we get one.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Chris, I want to thank you for being here with us today. I think our residents heard a wealth of information. Congratulations and thank you to you and your team in advance for being prepared for this very unique election that's coming forth. The Township of Maplewood looks forward with Liz Fritzen, who is our town clerk, of working with you collectively and collaborating on making this a successful election for all our residents in Maplewood, as well as South Orange.
Yes, indeed, that's right. And it's an honor and a privilege to serve the great people of Essex County, to serve the people of Maplewood and South Orange. And I couldn't be more thrilled. It's a dream to be a part of this process and to be engaged and to promote voting. That's what it's all about. That is our democracy. That is our freedom. That is our freedom of speech, most of all. And we must exercise our speech.
Chris Durkin, the Honorable Essex County Clerk. Vote, sign, seal, and return. Thank you so much for joining us, and go vote.